Hi, good evening to one and all present here. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Bhav Samvad, an initiative by the Kalinga Literary Festival, or KLF. KLF has emerged as a leading Indian literary platform having significant global footprints. It has decided to launch KLF Bhav Samvad to strengthen dialogue among languages and literature within India and beyond. It is a unique initiative, the first ever conceptualized by any literary festival to include all major Indian and global languages. In this initiative, we've covered 17. Now, let me introduce you to our esteemed panel. Professor Jatinder Kumar Nayak. He was educated at the Merton College, Oxford University, and retired as Professor of English from Utkal University in 2016. He was a member of the Raja Ram Mohan Roy Library Foundation, which is established by the Ministry of Culture. His English translation of classic Odia novels have been published by University of California Press, Oxford University Press, and Penguin Books. At present, he's a member of the English Advisory Board at the Sahitya Academy. He's also the editor-in-chief of Margasia, Journal of Culture published by the Center of Asian Studies, Bhubaneswar. Kedar Mishra. He is an editor, translator, journalist, and writes poetry in Odia. He has been awarded with Abani Boral Award in 2017, Guru Gangadhar Samman in 2019, Paschima Poetry Award in 2019, and many more such prestigious awards for poetry. Presently, he's a member of editorial board of the Nartanam, a dance journal published from Hyderabad, and is the editor of the Samiksha, an English and Odia digital media portal in India, and also the chief editor of Jharka. Vishwanath Jha. Vishwanath Jha is the founder and CEO of Sarthi.ai. It is a B2B conversational AI platform focused on working with consumer obsessed enterprises to enhance their customer experiences. He started Sarthi in 2017 with the purpose to offer a commerce enabled personal assistant for speakers of low resource Indian languages. He also advises the Government of India in designing the policies and frameworks to expedite the research and entrepreneurship in Indian languages and speech technologies. Lalit Kumar, the moderator. He's based in Delhi. He's a columnist, a translator, and teaches English at the Deen Dayal Upadhyay College, University of Delhi. Recently, he received the prestigious Nehru Memorial Museum and Library Fellowship housed in the Teen Murti campus located in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And currently, he's working on the English translation of selected satires of Harishankar Parsai. Over to you, Lalit Kumar. We're looking forward to a great session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Srishti.
Thank you, Srishti. Uh, it's an honor and pleasure to moderate this wonderful session and share the panel where we have a group of luminaries. I look forward to listening to all of you one by one. Due to some unavoidable work, Professor Jatin Kumar Nayak will have to leave soon. So without talking of anything about the topic, I'll invite him first to speak on this fascinating subject, artificial intelligence and Indian languages. Over to Jatin, sir.
Thank you, Lalit. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the outset, I must thank Kalinga Literature Foundation for inviting me to participate in this very exciting discussion, to which I think my colleagues will make more significant contribution. However, I'll just share a few thoughts with you and try to voice some of my anxieties and also communicate to you my excitement at the possibilities that artificial intelligence has opened up. It's a very important subject, and I don't feel quite well equipped to contribute anything meaningful to it. However, I think I can express a few ideas which exercise my mind and, as I told you, voice some anxieties. So I think machines have always fascinated human beings. Ever since we invented the wheel, we have tried to make life easier and made machines to do things for us. And this has always, machines have always fascinated us because they open up the possibility of extending uh, the scope of human activities, make life easier. So I vividly remember the time in my childhood when I was a child. I read a, a very enthralling book by H.G. Wells in Odia translation, The Time Machine. We all know about this very famous novel where people ride this machine or step into this machine which can take you back into the past or into the future. So we always hoped that one day machines would solve all our human problems and would open up possibilities which we never thought could ever be realized. So we have reached a point in the history of human civilization when machines are going to acquire such power that they can solve some of the problems that humankind had thought were insoluble. In fact, a kind of paradise, a kind of utopia is beckoning us, but uh, it's also opening up dangerous possibilities which frighten some of us. So I'll talk about both the promises, the possibilities, and the dangers of this brave new world, which may threaten us, which may solve all the problems that had earlier overwhelmed us. And we have to focus on language, Indian languages, and the possibilities that artificial intelligence can open up for us. Because as a translator, I'm interested in the way language can be processed. We are professionally interested in the way one language, a text in one language, can be translated into or rendered into another language, into a text in another language. That's a very complex process, and we thought that it would be an extremely difficult task. No machine can do it. However, nowadays at least it has come within the realm of possibility. Let's see what artificial intelligence has done in the world of what it has achieved in the world of language acquisition. Whenever we try to acquire a foreign language or any language other than our mother tongue, we always thought, we always depended on human uh, agents, teachers, language experts. They taught us, they made us feel inadequate. We thought that, well, uh, we are unable to acquire that language as fast as we wanted to do. But then artificial intelligence is making things much, much easier, much more easy. Uh, we can learn a foreign language through a machine, a chatbot, and this, and we don't have to experience the humiliation of being treated as a failure. And because artificial intelligence has made it possible to collect a lot of data about the learners, about language, the way languages work, the way sentences work, the way vocabularies work, they machines are computers are now in a position, or these machines that artificial intelligence has made possible have made it easy for these machines to use this data to teach languages in a far more effective way, so that one can learn language from a machine now without approaching or without experiencing the humiliation of being found inadequate by a human teacher. So it's perfectly possible now. Scientists argue that it's perfectly possible now to learn a foreign language, learn a language other than one's mother tongue in a very few months, something that used to take years. So this is a wonderful possibility. So artificial intelligence, because it collects so much data so fast, and can process them, and can also collect data about the learners. Each learner has his or her own problems, his or her own uh, dispositions, which This data, the collection of the data about him or her will now be processed, and everything can be customized so that language acquisition will become much more easy. So that's a wonderful possibility. And human beings don't feel cut off from other communities because they can't understand their language. In fact, it's claimed that through artificial intelligence, one can learn a foreign language in a matter of 3-4 months. Earlier, it used to take years because we couldn't immerse ourselves in a foreign language. Now, a machine can communicate with us because artificial intelligence has now made it possible for machines. Earlier, they were only repositories of data which they could process very fast. Now it's claimed, and I think many scientists have proved that machines can now learn from the environment just as human beings do. Machines are now acquiring characteristics and qualities that we attributed to human beings. This is a very, very significant development. It has, as I told you, dangerous dimensions, but it also opens up exciting possibilities. So many machines can now they have learned 23 or 20 foreign languages, and they can communicate with the learner and make the task of learning these languages much easier. So for Indian languages, in India we have this great problem of uh, interlingual communication. We all had to depend on English as a filter language. Whenever we wanted to translate something from Tamil into Odia or from Kannada into Assamese, we had to depend on English as a filter language, which certainly restricted the possibilities of translation. It was always first a text had to be translated into English, and that text had to be translated into some other Indian language. So much was lost. Now I can visualize the exciting possibility of Indian texts in different languages being translated into other languages without having to take recourse to English as a filter language. So already this process has started unfolding. For instance, Google Translate no longer uses English as a filter language. If I use Google Translate or some other software, they are all easily available these days. Suppose I want to translate something in Arabic into Chinese, I don't have to go through English. So already these possibilities were beginning to unfold. And now artificial intelligence or developments, new developments in the field of artificial intelligence will make it much easier to translate directly from one language into another without taking recourse to English as a filter language. So this is a great leap forward in the field of machine translation. Because earlier machine translations were unable to, they're extremely limited in their scope, in its scope. And sometimes used to make fun of the way machines couldn't translate certain expressions in one language into another, and very absurd results were obtained when we translated something, because language or anything written in a particular language is more than a linguistic entity. It embodies a lot of cultural factors, a lot of cultural uh, possibilities or cultural layers, which a translator finds extremely difficult to transfer to another language. And a machine, given its limitations, always did something that was absurd. But artificial intelligence or new developments in the field of artificial intelligence are making it possible for machines to be more sensitive to cultural nuances, something that escape. How fast this is going to happen, difficult to say. But the fact that machines are beginning to learn from their environments, that they can now decode nuances, something that they were unable to do earlier, is a matter to rejoice over. But at the same time, I would voice a few anxieties, because the moment we leave machines to do many of our things, many of the things that earlier we used to do through exercise or through exercising our minds, now I think there will be a vacuum. Human beings will get cut off from each other. The scope for human interaction will diminish or will get restricted, and human beings will, like already mobiles or already the gadgets that we have grown addicted to, are cutting us off from other people, and community bonds are getting loosened. So when machines will do everything for us, I think the uh, human life will lose much of its richness. Human beings will live uh, in a world of isolation. And when they get cut off from other human beings, I think the consequences might not be very pleasant. So this is one dangerous possibility that we have to take into consideration when we exult over the triumphs of modern science and the prospect of machines uh, doing most of what we used to do earlier by exercising our minds. And there is also the other danger that Noam Chomsky is talking about. We are getting carried away by what machines are doing for us. He calls it technoplagiarism. Whether they will do what human mind actually does is something that it's too early to decide, because we get carried away whenever a great invention takes place, whenever a great discovery is made, whenever we invent one a very efficient gadget, we get tend to get carried away and think that now we have found a substitute for the human brain. But I think it's too early to say that human creativity can ever be imitated by a machine. Machines can always help us do things more effectively and more efficiently. Human creativity, I think, is far too complex to be reduced to a machine. Human beings have always felt threatened by machines, but then they have outstripped them. So let's sincerely hope that these machines will augment our ability to do things that we did less efficiently in the past. They'll expand human possibilities. They will create opportunities for Indian languages to interact with each other without the intervention of English. But let's not get carried away and expect machines to replace human contact, human creativity, and human possibilities. I think that's all I can say. Uh, I know very little about this highly complex subject. Thank you once more for giving me this great opportunity to share all these stray thoughts with such distinguished people on the panel. Thank you very much.
Lalit, you are on mute.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Nayak, for your insightful remarks. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, and your remarks help us revisit the age-old question regarding the relation between man and machine, between languages, literatures, and technology. And you have beautifully summed up regarding the possibilities and problems involved when we look at the relation between AI and Indian languages. And you also talked about how language acquisition can be easy with the advent of AI, and our esteemed panelists will respond to some of the questions, some of the problems that you have raised today. However, I take this opportunity to uh, introduce the topic at large, to talk about this topic briefly, and then I'll go to Vishnath Jhaji and we will listen to him. AI, as you know, as we can see, is making rapid strides in all walks of life, be it communication, science, medicine, language, literature, and all other fields. And Professor Nayak's remarks today made me think of certain things that are happening in universities, especially universities located abroad, where chat GPT has been banned. In some university, chat GPT has been banned because there's a joke quite popular going on Twitter there in some universities abroad, that these days, with the coming of the AI, especially chat GPT, teachers will give assignment with the help of AI, students will do the assignment with the help of AI, and then AI will evaluate the assignment. So everyone else should go for a cup of coffee. So there's this kind of anxiety that we can see in some people regarding chat GPT. But at the same time, there are ample opportunities too. Recently, I came across an interview that chat GPT had taken of Jonathan Swift, the 18th century British author. And today I was sharing this with my friend dear Astoshji, and he said that it's such a wonderful opportunity. In future, you never know. One may use chat GPT to take interviews of all the ancient authors, all the pre-modern authors. Tomorrow we may conduct interview of Vidyapati, for instance, with the help of ChatGPT. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that ChatGPT had not only processed the data, which is already available in the public domain on Jonathan Swift, but it had come up with some subjective remarks too. For instance, Swift was asked in that questionnaire whether he would like to say that Homer is overrated or underrated. So he was asked to give his opinion on Homer, on Milton, and several other authors. So this kind of exercise can be taken in the context of Indian authors too. That's one thing I wanted to say. And having said this, we also know that AI was developed in the context of the West. So now the question that arises is, in what ways artificial intelligence can be used to capture the linguistic diversity of India, linguistic and literary diversity of India. This question becomes even more pertinent in the context of Indian subcontinent, because here all of us know this dictum that goes in Hindi like this: कोस कोस पर पानी बदले, चार कोस पर बदले बानी. Here language changes every few kilometers. So, and we know our country is known for linguistic diversity. For instance, I would like to bring out some data here. As per 1961 census report, we had 1,652 languages enlisted as mother tongues. Unfortunately, in 1971 census, it was reduced to 108 because of some of the arbitrary figures that only those languages can be counted as mother tongues whose speakers stand at least 10,000. And in 2011 census, it was reduced to merely 121. So another question that comes up before us for discussion today is that in what ways artificial intelligence, AI, and chat GPT can contribute to this loss of Indian languages or retrieving Indian languages. So that's another question that we may take up today. And as far as the limitations of AI is concerned, I mean, Professor Jatin Nayak talked about the relation between man and machine today, and this anxiety, the anxiety that AI may lead to unemployment, is an age-old anxiety. When we look at the relation between man and machine, even in the West these days, people say, "What if waiter and waitresses will be replaced by machinery? What if at all these Walmarts at checkouts, machine will do the job of man?" And in the context of India, this question becomes even more important because earlier philosophers and thinkers such as Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, Aurobindo, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, all those had raised this question whether machinery is suitable to a country like India. When computers were introduced in the 1980s, the same kind of anxiety was expressed. So Vishwanath Jhaji will be able to answer these questions from the perspective of an entrepreneur. So without any delay, I would like to invite him and seek his opinion. We all look forward to listen to him because he has been doing phenomenal work in the field of artificial intelligence as an entrepreneur, as a poet, polyglot, and philosopher. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Lalitji. Thank you for this opportunity. Thanks for having me here. Thank you, KLF and Bhab Samvad, for giving me this opportunity. I think there is a lot of what do you call hype today around AI. Everybody is buzzing. I mean, there are few emerging technologies today, but AI has kind of led the charge. And fortunately, I've been lucky that I've been able to closely observe the evolution of AI for last 13 years. So it's very important to first of all understand what AI is, and how it impacts human societies or human self individual basically. And it is, you will be surprised that the answer, where I found this answer is actually like some texts which were written 3000 years ago, some Upanishad and some like Vedas, some commentaries, So it's all there. I mean, it's not nothing new. It's just that we may not have the opportunity to lay our hands on it and maybe take a, like a grasp of it. So just without much ado, I'll just kind of deconstruct this concept of AI. So we know AI is artificial and intelligence, right? Artificial, we all know, man-made, you know. But what is intelligence? This is a deep philosophical question which gave birth to more than a dozen mutually coexisting philosophy schools. They all ask the same question: how to acquire the truth from the perception. So, I mean, it's very easy to use intelligence, interchangeably in our everyday's, like sphere, basically. But if you try to meditate upon this single word, intelligence, you'll find there is a lot of meaning in it. And for example, if we say somebody is intelligent, why do we say that somebody is intelligent? There are, like, if you see, there are two major parameters. One is the memory, sharp memory, medha, one who has strong memory, you know. And the second part is the ability to discriminative ability, right from the wrong, red from the blue, like, and spotting the similarities also. So spotting similarities and discriminating between the variances, this intellectual ability, this discriminative ability is intelligence. So, and now, how, I mean, if we consider ourselves an intelligent species, so why do you say so? Because we are considered, I mean, we say that we take decisions much more smarter, much more, like practically, in everyday life. And that's what makes somebody more intelligent than somebody less intelligent. Because in a scenario, in a isolated environment, if you give a new situation to somebody, how a person reacts to it, the decision making, right? So that is where AI comes into play, because AI helps humans imitate their decision making behavior based on some experiences. So in order to be intelligent, you may need something, like, for example, experience. Unless you have an experience of certain things, or if you don't have, or if you should have a memory of a, let's say, a meaning, or a sentence which carries that particular meaning, then only you can use that to make a decision. So in Hindi, in Sanskrit, we have like three words which are very commonly related, which is called man, buddhi, and vivek. And we often say man is chanchal. Why? And because it's man is like, it is constantly distracted by the sensory influx that this human body is perceiving, and that's why it keeps on getting some information. And what is buddhi? So buddhi is basically which actually takes those influx, works upon it, and finds some, like important rules, some important belief state which we consider that, okay, this is true, I'm going to use it. So that's buddhi. And vivek is the rational making, rational decision making process. बोलते हैं, अक्सर बोलते हैं, विवेक से काम लो. Like you use your buddhi to make a better decision making. So it is very, like ingenious to us, because it is us humans who have made AI machine. It's not the other way around. So whatever we think AI is a reflection of our own human society, our own human intelligence. So, and why this the application of AI suddenly, like just boomed? Because humans by default are, like lazy in nature. They want everything to be done by somebody, and that quest to automate, or different quests, basically different tasks that earlier humans wanted to do, and humans were doing, but they found it difficult, monotonous. They didn't want to do it. They were like, okay, I'm going to design a machine for it. I mean, it started with industrial revolution, when people started inventing switches. To switch on the light, you have to switch on. But today you talk to AI assistants and say, hey Google, hey Alexa, switch on the light, because you don't even want to move. So it is like the, like, however, the AI as a concept is helping human civilization, human societies to get more lazy and also take better decision, because in human mind there is, like a certain degree of information that you can store, and that's the advantage with machine. I mean, if you increase RAM size, you can do that in machine, but you can't do that in humans. So with so much memory and the compute and the real world experience, the physical world experience, a lot of information. Professor Nayak actually talked about a lot of data on the internet, which has actually been used to build generative AI algorithms like Chat GPT or many other like that, right? So that information is actually shaping the cognition of AI machine. It's all cognition, and using that cognition to make a better decision. I think that's where, like you can see the value of AI, because especially in the emerging economy where we are, or the globally, there are a lot of problems, a lot of challenging problems, and there's certain problems which require a lot of precision in their outcome, in their solution, and there you can't afford to have a human error. So imagine a hospital which is like AI enabled, 5G on 5G network, which is and there is a Skynet sort of AI intelligent software which is monitoring the entire hospital ward, and through computer vision it is like monitoring nursing staff has actually given the medicine to the patient on time or not, recorded the body vitals or not, if there is any anomaly, get an alert. So this is all possible through AI. In India, the ratio of doctor to patient is like very skewed. So imagine a doctor, if not doctor, basically imagine, at least enabling doctors to make faster decision. I think that's the major application I see in terms of like where AI can help us, and definitely the other leisure works. I'm not talking about that. And now I'm coming to language. So after AI, it is because we are talking about AI and the intersection of AI and language. So this is more or less the in deep learning on AI we say variational auto encoding. It's like a dense embedding which constructs about the AI which I wanted to share. Now language, bhasha, that's like root of existence of individual beings, and it is not just limited to humans. So भाषा किसी जीव का अस्तित्व है, उसके अस्तित्व का मूल है, because it, and every word has a meaning. There is a cognition attached to that word. So today, I mean, if we evaluate the AI systems, the language models, the large language models, they have seen so much linguistic expressions on internet that they have formed a worldview. They know how a sentence is actually written, in what context you have to write a sentence, and if you want to shorten it, if you want to elongate it, if you want to elaborate on top of it, if you want to add a particular flavor on top of it, the large language model is able to get those parameters, and based on that generate certain probabilistic text in a order which blows our mind. Okay, how can a machine write such beautiful essay in just like a press of button? So I think and language, it's very intelligent. I mean, I think when I read, there was a very beautiful sentence. I think one of the tantra book actually I read, that mentioned aham bahu shama, may I be many. So this is the primordial consciousness. It thought that I should be many, and that's where it started communicating, and that's how the language, the consciousness spread, the consciousness, the unity consciousness, the unit consciousness fragmented, and it spread across every living being. So, and with that, like this, I mean, this is a lot of philosophy. Language in itself is philosophy. It has grammar as a philosophy. It allows us to express certain things. And what do we allow? Even if you go on a very small root level, there is something called Sabd Chatushtaya, the 4 stages of sound, where there is the first step is the para stage, where there is the divine light which resides inside us, that desires to speak. That's the para stage, because that's the first thing. Only when you desire to speak, you find yourself a word, right? But before that, there are three more steps. The second step is pashyanti. The divine light which desires to speak gets an image. Pashya means, in Sanskrit, it means to see, right? So it finds that image, and based on that image, the third stage, madhyama, comes into play, which is stirring of air. So you based, when you visualize that concept that you want to utter, you articulate your vocal organs to manifest the sound, the fourth and the final state of sound, the vaikhari, you know. So I mean, it's very subtle, but it's just that we take it so granted because we acquired naturally in an environment. And if you see, every individual being, we may call ourselves different names, but that name was also given by somebody else, you know. And if you ultimately see, every individual self is nothing but a image of the environment around them, the environment in which they grew, the school, the family, the friends, the colleagues, you know. It's actually that. So similarly, you can think of an AI system today, it is intelligent enough to perceive the reality, which we may call it reality or illusion. We may have a debate over it, but like the machines are now intelligent enough to perceive what is happening in this 3D environment. And the auditory perception is there, the speech, spoken language. Then there is expression of sound. You are trying to do that. A machine is fluently able to generate. If you give it a text, it synthesizes the speech for that particular text. Speech synthesis, speech recognition, language understanding. These are all different language-related tasks that I have been studying for last more than a decade. So, and ultimately, I found all my answers in the philosophy. So I think it's very interesting, and today I am very feeling fortunate that we are discussing this AI and language on such a large scale. Everybody is like excited about it, but it is so fundamental. It is nothing new. It's just that we need to maybe sit for a while, pause, and maybe reflect. Mimansha, we just need to reflect, and it's everywhere. And I think if there was a very famous grammarian in Indian knowledge system named Bhartrihari, who in 5th century wrote a book called Vakya Padiya, where he deeply, this treatise is actually it's all about how a meaning transfers from a speaker to a listener, how to induce the same thought in the listener's mind as the speaker. So, and obviously there is so many branches over it, but just to summarize, maybe I won't take much time. But in that Vakipatiya, he mentioned there are three ways a meaning basically gets transferred. So one is, and he mentioned it as sport, flashings, and every time right now you nodded your head, right? Why did you nod your head? Because you understood something. And you said, yes, you did this. So natural to us. So this sport, this flashing can be of three different types: Varna sport, Pada sport, and Vakya sport. So, and obviously there was more to it later. Very famous scholar from Mithila, Kumaril Bhatt was there. He further, extrapolated the concept. Then there were another school of philosophy, Prabhakar, who also contributed a lot on this. So there is a lot of study which has already been done, and largely because we come from a civilization where it was all Shruti and Smriti. There was no written thing, basically. It is very recent. So the sages who were having Sastrarth debate amongst themselves, it was very important for them to find a very precise language in which they can communicate. And for that debate to happen, one very fundamental thing was to have a common shared vocabulary. I mean, if I say apple, you also mean apple. You don't mean orange. So otherwise, this debate will never end. So the quest to make a very fine, refined language, which is very measured in transferring that in discrete information unit in a utterance, in a sentence, or in a like expression. Basically, it has been there. It's not new. It's just that I have been fortunate enough to just like go through it and like find my answers there. I hope I kind of I was able to do just some justice how in language is like intertwined with AI.
Well, thank you so much for these fascinating remarks, for approaching this pertinent issue from the perspective of a polyglot, philosopher, and a poet. So you approached it not only from the perspective of an entrepreneur, but also from a philosophical kind of perspective by making us revisit Indian philosophical tradition. And you also talked about how AI helps us make informed choices and arrive at certain decisions with certainties. However, I also felt at times that machines, especially artificial intelligence, in particular in the field of medicine, deals with probabilities. Uh, at times it may be difficult to arrive at conclusions there. And then another thing that I'm interested in is, and something that I would like you to talk about a bit so that our viewers may get to know about some concrete efforts that are being taken in the field of AI to enrich and capture the diversity of Indian languages and literatures. And I'm fascinated by this project Vani that was initiated by Google India in collaboration with India Institute of Science,
Fine.
Bengaluru. And
Yes.
the India Institute of Science website says it. It has been mentioned on the website that our aim is to capture the language landscape of India for an inclusive digital India.
Yes.
So that's a fascinating project. So in what ways do you think the linguistic diversity of India can be captured, especially the script and speech, both by such grand projects? Because people say that AI was developed in the context of the West, and now we are using those
Not
tools, those
really, not
models
really.
to
I think
capture.
people need to study Acharya. Very very famous Acharya. He's now cognitive neuroscience. He wrote a lot of paper on neuroscience, and AI has a lot to do with neuroscience. Basically, that ability to understand the concepts, visualize it, like to embody it. I think it people say it is I mean, it's what's there with it West, nothing like that. I mean, there are two words, artificial and intelligence. I mean, it's you may say that the recent work in last 60, 70 years was definitely done by West, and I think World War II around that time, I think it started. Uh, but as I said, I mean, I've seen in last 13 years how dramatically it exploded. So I know how a bag of word concept was used in 2010, and today we are talking about Chat GPT, large language model. In the last 13 years, how the entire landscape has changed. I think there's a lot of contribution from Western scholars, but rather than making it East versus West, I think it is more of the understanding. It's like how do you perceive? I think, and that way we are very rich because in Indian philosophical tradition, you'll find different frameworks to find that truth. And largely this quest for AI came because there was a lot of misinformation and consumerism in our societies already. It's there, and to counter that, we need to have like a truth seeking machine, or like find or a source where somebody can get a verified information. So I think that's where language processing started, intermixing with AI. And I think NLP, I think there was a remarkable paper from Thomas Mikolov in 2013, which actually changed a little bit word to word. It started came, and then in 2018 around, I guess there was a transformer paper from Google, which proposed a BERT-based language model. And then today, I mean, like last 4 5 months ago, we saw the emergence of generative AI, where now everybody is chasing that wild goose. So be it Microsoft, Google, Tesla recently they started. There are a lot of open source initiative. Even us, we have started a new Bodh AI Research Foundation, which is a Section 8 company, not for profit, where we are planning to study the interaction of AI with different spheres of like sociology, anthropology, music, mathematics, medicine, politics, governance, how AI is gonna impact. Because now, if you see, it's a very funny joke I make. In the wake of this Chat GPT thing, because human intelligence is now commoditized. You get it at $20. You pay a $20 subscription to ChatGPT and you get it. So I think it has come to that, and in that ways, the project Vani. I think I'm fortunate again to like work with some of the research scholars, the scientists basically who are working on Project Vani in Institute of Science. Even there are some projects in IIT Madras, in IIT Bombay. So there, and I think there's a lot of work happening in this space. And I mean, in the last 2000, I mean, since 2017, particularly, have been working as a company in this space. So I have been working with Government of India on a lot of, like bodies where they had like interdisciplinary, like discussions, how to do, like further promote technology enabled preservation and promotion of Indian languages. So there are a lot of projects. I mean, personally, I've been involved in a couple of projects. National Language Translation Mission, IEEE Standardization Association Committee. Then there was, I think, there was another project, Bhashini, that they have recently started. So I think there is a lot of work happening because there's a very, I think there's another commission which has recently been constituted, and the chairman is Dr. Grishnath Jha from JNU. So he's also basically working on preserving the technological terms from Indic knowledges, basically, the systems, basically. Why? Because every word means something. If you lose that meaning, that is gone forever. It's just like you're talking about somebody like talking in like Pali or Prakrit, मतलब use करके कोई लिखा हुआ है किसी को पता नहीं चला क्या लिखा हुआ है. So it's very important to have that like dictionary of words and the proper documented history. And yeah, diversity. Oh, I'll tell you, this is very big task, because after 13 years in this space, and 6.5 years approximately in this as an entrepreneur, it's very, I mean, initial 4-5 years were very tough because there was fundamentally no research in AI or NLP, especially in the context of Indian languages. When I started, it was completely blank, zero. I mean, no data sets, no, like, I mean, even the leaderboard is not there. I mean, if I have to, I mean, I have myself designed a lot of corpora so that I can start my research work. So I always complain to the government. Fortunately, government has listened to it, and now they have done a lot of work on top of it. But here, if I start building corpora, that is a separate company doing that job. How do you expect a startup or a new company to first build a corpora and then on top of that build it, especially in the context that we have so many languages, so many different speaking styles? We may not call them, we may not recognize them as language, but they are language in their own sense. I mean, just because they don't have a script, we can't say that they are not language. I mean, who are we to say that? Language is a form of expression. They are formal, they are non-formal. That's okay. There's some spoken languages that is for someone are formal language. That was always the concept before also. But I think there are the research academia and even the industry focus over a period of time. I've seen a lot of positive changes. So I'm very happy. I'm very bullish. Fortunately, today myself, I've been working on 11 Indian languages, building conversational AI systems on voice, which can talk to humans in their in the way humans talk, humans converse. And we have automated a lot of communication processes for banks. Now we are working with governments for government to citizen communication. How the government can have like proactive approach to communicate whatever new bills, policies, or like beneficiary schemes that they have proposed for the government, and have a interactive kind of session participation from the citizens, basically. So
Yes.
language and AI, I mean, 5 years from now, we will be in a different hemisphere altogether. I think this is a very interesting time. I feel myself, like I'm very fortunate that I'm right at this juncture. I'm in the right space with right tech, right sort of team. So it has helped us. And one aspect where I'll see, I wanted to work on all the languages, but as an entrepreneur, I had, especially as a startup entrepreneur, I had a lot of like, what do you call, limitations, constraints, because limited by resources and like other aspects. So there unfortunately there is a business incentive which drives this technological advancement in the regional languages or the different languages that we have in India. So I worked on Tamil, I worked on Telugu, I worked on Malayalam, Gujarati, Bangla, Punjabi, Odia, Maithili, Marathi. I worked on these languages, Kannada. But the problem is the way in order in which I approached these languages was always incentivized based on the business need. So when the business is actually acknowledging that, okay, I want to talk to my customer in their preferred term, then only, like there is some money involved in it which I can put in the research to further expedite it. Otherwise it is a hobby. And I realized that after 4 years running a bootstrap company, that no, it doesn't work like that. If you want to make a sustainable research lab out of this AI and languages together, I need to make some money. And for that I need to work at tandem with the business, because I can't be like in a different world altogether कि नहीं मैं तो यार बोडो में जाके करूंगा या डोगरी में जाके लैंग्वेज में AI बनाऊंगा, but who will pay for it?
That's true. Thank you so much for enriching us with your beautiful answers. I must tell here that it's rare to see an entrepreneur who has such deep and abiding love for Indian languages, literatures, and Indic thought, Indic knowledge system. I must thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I
My
hope in future we will hear more and more about Project Vani and the challenging task that scholars of Indian Institute of Science have undertaken. It's not easy to document so many languages, to capture the linguistic diversity of India, and to analyze Vedic system of thought, Indic knowledge. Because recently, when the People's Linguistic Survey of India was released, GN Devi has enumerated 700 languages. So it would be a challenging task for these scholars. But I hope we'll get to hear more about Project Vani in future.
Maybe I'll take
Yes,
one more moment, and
Yeah.
Lalit, I want to add one point which is very important here.
Then we'll listen to Kedar
uh,
sir. Yeah.
I think for this, like proliferation of AI, NLP, or speech recognition technologies in remaining Indian languages, one of the very important tasks is to have a annotation framework and annotation tool for developing the corpora. Obviously there are ways to automate that thing, and like government is trying to do it, but I think fortunately, again, I have been in this space for so long, almost. So we actually built a corpora development platform, Shabd, which allows us to create corpora for AI related model training, be it speech or language or conversation dialogue models, basically. So I think the more and more such initiative, the technology driven platform based thing comes into play, so more people, because see, it's not just about the people who have studied these languages formally. We are talking about like native language, like मैथिली बोलने वाले गांव में जो लोग हैं, चाहे अलग अलग जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट में रहते हैं, उनका जो डाइवर्सिटी है, द वैरायटी है, right? That also needs to be captured, and we need to have certain pattern, because only when we have a significant amount of corpora with a particular pattern which describes कि अच्छा ये मधुबनी का बोलने वाला है और ये सहरसा का बोलने वाला है ना, तो that distinction in the pronunciation model, only when we have a significant amount of data corpora which is annotated in a way which is consumed by the AI algorithms to build models, only then this problem will be solved.
That's so true. And we are enjoying listening to you, but since time is running out, I would like to invite the celebrated poet and critic Kedar Mishra ji. We all are keen to listen to him. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Lalit. Actually, I was really enjoying the talk of Biswanath. And let me start with a very counterpoint. When you say that orange must be identified as orange, in Vyanjana, orange can also be something different. And in Mimamsa or in Siddhanta, nothing is concrete. No finding is final. So that's why language makes things very different. I democratize the whole process. And, the biggest danger of artificial intelligence is that it may kill the power of Vyanjana. That you are talking about to build up a corpora where, you want to include everyone. But, in every human mind, there is a different Vyanjana. So two words. I want to start with two words. One is Vyanjana and other one is Karuna. The compassion and the Vyanjana. So I don't know what is the English exact English of Vyanjana. But the real problem recently, I think Economist has published a very special issue on artificial intelligence, and you know about that later. Who is going to control artificial intelligence? My first question is that who is going to control it? And Yuval Noah Harari recently told that this is going to be the biggest challenge for democracy of the world,
Yes.
because people who are controlling, people who are having ownership of this monstrous operational tool, how they are going to use it, whether they are going to democratize the world. This man and machine relationship, it's age old, and I don't want to repeat all those things actually. Every time there is a fear of loss of jobs, economic problems. That's one that will always be there. But the biggest problem is who is going to control it and how he is going to use it. There is data. There is study of human psychology. You are talking about studying the speech. Then who is going to protect the right to privacy? Right to privacy is again a very uh, uh, it's a very pure, a kind of, it's a sanctimonious thing. If
I
you
think
want to control human mind, if you want to control human psyche, then it may create a dictatorial tendency. Because only a few will try to control the entire human psyche, the civilization. The biggest question, the in that later, Elon Musk and others, I would like to talk about that. Should we automate away all the jobs, including the fulfilling ones? Should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? My concern is this, that are you going to control the civilization where a non-human mind is involved? And a non-human mind is devoid of karuna. He doesn't have that sense of that enormous uh,
empathy.
diversity of Vyanjana. Vyanjana is not one. There is not one layers. There are millions of layers.
Yes.
What you can catch up one, two, three, four meanings or 100 meanings, but every word has millions of layers in meanings. And you're talking about parapasanti madhyama vaikhari. To reach vaikhari, you have to go layers and layers and layers. You have to surpass
Absolutely.
that. So in that case, always there is limitation of machine. And human mind, the natural psyche and the machinery psyche, that is a very interesting study actually, how always machine wants to outsmart the natural mind. And that is an interesting struggle between man and mind, man and machine, that will go on. But my only fear is that the whole process, the whole controlling tool should not be in the hand of a few who can destroy democracy, who can destroy the system of equality. Nowadays I found it's very funny, not funny. Sometimes it's very inhuman to say that no, 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 we cannot have a equal or just society. Society is to be very, dominating, hegemonic. That tendency is scary for me. A hegemonic, unjust society, a unequal society is a dangerous society, a inhuman society. So in the beginning, when the social media came up, we had a dream that it will democratize the world. And when we see pink revolution and our jasmine revolution in Arab, we were very hopeful. But of late, we have seen what is happening. The social media is the most misused tool, the misused operational system uh, to concretize the power of dictators throughout the world. This is scary. And who is going to control? Who is going to uh, give me guarantee that artificial intelligence will not be used to destroy the world and to destroy the civilization? Suppose it is to be used by the terrorist groups,
It
and
will.
certainly they are going to do. So that's another bigger. That's a flaw side actually, dark side.
True, true.
And all these have. So we have to think about opportunities are there. Always opportunities are there. And in terms of language, let me tell you, Lalit gave a very good data, and we know that about the language survey of India. Uh, we have killed our language. Many languages are killed, and artificial intelligence is going to kill more, because if you are going to speak about only few, and you will talk about your business model, you will talk about your resource crunch, you will talk about uh, the limitations. So in human, as human resources, language has to survive, language has to sustain with its own identity. you know Artificial intelligence is not going to give that autonomy to the languages. And the because I also do work in the field of translation. The Google translation is the most horrible experience in my life, the most horrible experience. you know
I think
the kind of translation, the kind of word transformation that happens in Indian languages, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's scary. So I am I'm not going to say it's a doomsday, but I always say that there must be uh, a, a strong debate and discourse that who is going to control artificial intelligence, who are the owners, who are the controllers, who is having the remote controls. That is important for me. And in terms of language, in terms of Indian languages, the only way out is to document. Artificial intelligence can do one thing: it can preserve the legacy. It can have, it is having that ability to preserve, to document uh, the languages uh, which are going to die. So that can be done through artificial intelligence. And I came through some judgments. Such a very interesting is the Supreme Court of India. They are very excited about translating the judgments in Indian languages. And I went through huge judgments, hilarious, hilarious judgments. In English, you enjoy it, but when you read it in Odia, is it my language? I don't know in which language it is been translated. Actually, it's a very very constipated kind of translation. So I still believe that the Vyanjana and Karuna, these two elements, uh, should be a part of natural psyche, natural mind. Artificial intelligence, let it be, but with a pinch of salt. I think that much I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, sir. I understand. And the problem is that comfort always comes at the cost of privacy. But you have
so.
approached.
I think Lalit, I wanted to counter because I wanted like a couple of points
Yes, sir,
basically.
one quick response, because we will take
Yeah,
some questions too, and time is
sure.
running out. So one quick
Sure,
response.
sure,
Yes,
sure. Sir, first of
yes,
all, I totally concur with you that machine translation today, it really sucks. It's really, it's not up to the mark where we are. We want it to
that's true.
be. So it's far
That's
from perfect. So let's not judge AI by its current state. it is only gonna improve and improve further. So that, I mean, it is today 2023. We are by month in April. By December, you will feel it will much more evolved. By next year, you will see it is far more richer. So that's point number one. Second thing, on the privacy you raised. So there is something called federated AI, which is built in a way to protect the privacy of individuals, and still like take the data from the individual and make a more intelligent like a world view, individual view or cognition about that particular individual, that if I have to put it that way. And third thing also, you said about ki AI may kill languages, but I see it on the other side. If there is no AI, English has already, like, kind of overtaken a lot of Indian languages. And as a matter of irony, right now also we are talking in English, uh, which is far less scientific language than the Indian languages
Biswanath,
that.
Biswanath, only, just one point. We always
Ji.
blame English, but that is true to every language. Suppose in Odisha, Odia language is the prime language, but we have nearly 5 million Santali speakers. We have 2.5 million Twi speakers. We have Bhatra speakers. We have Parja speakers. We don't
Sure.
talk about them completely. We never count those
Sir,
people, those
that is
language speakers.
policy.
So,
Sir, that is
every
policy being lost.
language which is having the language of power always hegemonic, language of power. So, that, why English is, because English is the language of power.
In fact, sir, if I may intervene, for us, it's not a question of either or. It's not a question of English versus Indian languages. It can
Yes.
be a question of both.
It's
Promotion
a,
of English
it
as
should
well
be,
as
it should
Indian
be a
language.
question of hegemony actually. It
Yes, sir.
should be a
Actually,
question of hegemony.
if you talk, if you say so in Maithili also we have different, like different other languages, like Sutipura hai, Thithi hai na? We have other Bajjika hai, Angika hai. These are all. So I'm not denying the existence of these individual languages. What I'm saying is they are far more related to each other than English. If you have to make a mathematical dense vector of the words that exist in these languages, you will
That I
find those words similar in the vicinity, because they have same root words. The word declension, the way the words are formed, that will be same. The grammar rules will be pretty much more or less same. So in that sense, I was saying ki, and also, I mean, if you say simple in English, the way the number of vowels and consonants are there, it's very confusing. I mean, imagine कि आप बर्गर में BURGER is गर, but Germany में GERMANI is जर. I mean, why? I mean, but in Hindi or in Sanskrit, if क आकार का अगर लिखते हैं तो का ही पढ़ेंगे उसको, कुछ और नहीं पढ़ेंगे. We will not read anything else. That's the beauty of Indian languages. We are far more richer in our cognition of depicting auditory perception. And if you go further down south, you will find far more richer literary scripts like Granth script, which is derived from Pallava dynasty, Pallava script. They are even they have like for every combination of vowel and sound consonant, they have a separate script, separate like an alphabet for that. So which allows us to express far more richer small cognitive nuances of the experience that we get. We can explain it far richer. So that's why I was trying to, the more AI is able to imbibe this language, I'm not saying it's like it's perfect. Nobody is saying that it is perfect. It is a journey. It's an evolution. As I said, last 13 years also, I repeatedly mentioned, in last 13 years, I've seen how it evolved. And I see how further it will go in next 5 to 10 years. I think that was the point. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's
that's
so
all
true.
right.
So true. Therefore, we often say that it's easier to translate a text from one Indian language to another in comparison to translating the same text into English because of the common roots, common words, common expressions.
Yes.
Yes. So, any final remarks, sir? Kedar, sir? Anything you'd like to add here? Then we can.
My major concern is, it should not be an instrument for dictatorial dominance. Democracy must be protected, and human mind as a natural entity must survive. And civilization is not a codified a data system. Civilization is much beyond that.
True, true. No, that's true, sir. And whenever a new technology is introduced, this kind of anxieties, these kinds of apprehensions can be seen regarding the hegemonic takeover of the technology. Thank you so much. So, do we have some questions from the audience here?
Yeah, there is one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there is one, sir. I'll read it out. What is the future of expression of ideas through language and literature as AI is rapidly progressing and perhaps is quite able to replace many roles?
True. That's the sad story. I think most of the marketing content writers, they are at risk. This is already happening. So that's true. But I think the ingenuity. See, I think AI is just a tool. The large language model, Chat GPT, and all these are just tool uh, to answer your question. But asking right questions, that is a superpower. So I think with people who have the ability to ask right questions, they will survive this and maybe even thrive. If you see, there's something called prompt engineering today, and suddenly it has become one of the most paid jobs in US, where people are hiring prompt engineers to work with Chat GPT. They want to give them a prompt and get answer out of it. So those kind of jobs will be created, but I think the way I think I have personally been using ChatGPT for a long time now, so I can safely say that it does a good job. Unfortunately, I want to like contradict that, but unfortunately, it's too good. I mean, it's able to if I give ChatGPT a phrase of my articulation of thought in a phrase of like certain words, a para, and I ask you, okay, elaborate it in less than 200 words. It does that marvelously. I say, okay, add a emotion of something like this, or speaking style of, let's say, Steve Jobs. So it does that. I ask you, okay, can you make a screenplay for it, or a, like of a 1 minute video based on this context? It gives me screen by screen. Okay, opening scene will be like this. The narration will narrate. The narrator will say like that. So yes, there is a serious risk, no denying that. But I think we will find our way. We will find our way. I think there is a lot more. Yeah.
In
Yes, sir.
terms of
Yes, sir. Please.
literature, I have a peculiar experience actually in terms of
Please.
artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
I read one poem generated by AI and one novel. So I found the novel very convincing. The poetry looks like a kind of copy paste a
True. True.
mechanical job, but
Yes.
when it comes to fiction, and the author is very generous to explain his system, how he used artificial intelligence. Uh, 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 the way you say, to write a screenplay, because it's the time frame, and the visual accuracy, you get all those inputs, and nicely you get that. But the other side, when you are talking about to develop an emotional uh, storyline where you develop your characters, they become a bit mechanical again. You just look into a
True. True.
particular audience base. That's the problem for me. But
True.
in literature, when you're writing a novel, your target group is every time it is changing. So as a writer, as a creative person, you are not fixed to any particular idea or any particular style. You are
Mhm.
evolving within yourself. So I
Mhm.
don't know how AI is going to deal with those ideas, those psyches actually.
I think I had a similar
So, but
experience.
poetry, poetry, I still believe that poetry is a very powerful expression, and I don't know how uh, AI is going to use it. I read few poems and I found it very disappointing.
I
But
had
I
a
think
different. experience.
I think,
Lalit,
sir,
just
after, yeah, yes,
yeah,
yes,
please,
yes, sir. Please,
please
sir.
go ahead. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, please, sir, make the point that you're saying. And
So
then we'll have one more
essentially I had
question.
a similar experience with a poem. So basically almost like 15, 16 years ago I had written a poem, so which was in a school magazine I had published, and I didn't remember full like full poetry. So initial 4 5 lines I had. So I tried can I give this as a prompt and ask ChatGPT to complete it. So it failed miserably. Then what I did, I was writing. There was another poem from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar called Mithila, where he was. That Mithila, that poem is basically is a sign of hopelessness, which I see how Mithila was hopeless, and that Mr. Dinkar was able to express. So I had a way to reply to that poem I wanted to write. I have written that. So when I give the gave that poem piece of that poem to ChatGPT, it immediately picked up. It is somewhat related to Dinkar. So I think we are there. I think the literature part, as you said, it is good. I also agree. Poem also I agree. But I think going forward, maybe in a year, maybe in a 6 months, maybe in a 5 year horizon, we see that that creative job will also, like we will find the AI system to make more poems basically, which will be much more
So,
related.
And I was,
so I expect Kalinga Literature Festival to have a festival where only chatbots will be discussing and reading poems and fiction. So let's hope a day will come like that.
yes, and sir, I was fascinated by the way Chat GPT had interviewed Jonathan Swift. Their all
Yeah, yeah,
data were
that
beautifully processed. And therefore, Astoji
you know,
suggested that tomorrow Vidyapati's
I
interview can
didn't see
be
that,
conducted.
Lalit. I always had a thinking in my mind that I used to think to have an interview with Fakir Mohan Senapati. I
In
always
fact,
had
sir,
I have a set of question in my mind, but it's my question. It's my question. I don't know whether if Senapati was alive at that time, whether he could have responded me the way it is. So it's kind again a time machine kind of idea actually.
in fact, sir, while I was reading that interview, I too was reminded of Senapati. I too thought that what if Senapati's interview can be conducted, because Fakir Mohan Senapati is one of my most favorite authors too. So we had one
Right?
more question from Astoji. Can we get it on
Yeah.
screen? Just, yeah. Sir, here's the question. What ethical considerations arise with the use of AI in literary translation, particularly in terms of authorship and cultural representation?
That's a gray area. That's a really gray area right now. A lot of effort is actually going on in this direction, where people are, like actively discussing the copyrights and the intellectual property of authors, literary, or not just literary authors, basically, even the artists, painters, musicians, even pharmaceutical companies. Everybody is worried. So there is, I think. Certain, I think that's why. I mean, I don't know if it's an overstatement or exaggeration, but I feel that this AI is more like a nuclear power today. It's better you have it. If you don't have it, then you are dependent. You see, US. I mean, recently only the US government is actually using LLMs to assist the soldiers already.
Hmm.
That's already part of the plan. That they are already DARPA is already doing it, and there's more such things coming up. So it's better to be equipped, and then figure out how to tame this beast basically. But largely, I think there have been lot of issues around it. I've been following this side of the story across channels, and there is no clear guidelines right now, and that's why probably there is a lot of voice okay, we should be regulating AI, NLP and all that, LLMs and all that will happen. But again, as Professor Mr. Mishra ji, he actually mentioned, who is gonna own that? So I think okay, so that's why there is utopia as well as dystopia. So you have to see which way the time will turn. It's very early to say, but I think there is some certain regulation going on. Even the government is actually actively discussing it, but I think if I have to find out a way, I would say it will always be through active participation of the citizens. If it is within a context of a country, okay, or if it's, let's say if it is a literary thing, so basically the followers, the fans, the followers of literature, basically maybe they are the people who are to democratize the development of AI in this aspect, so that it preserves the rights in or intellectual properties of individual authors, basically. And also, by the way, Mishra ji, if you have a question for Mr. Senapati, I have ChatGPT ready with me right now. If you can give me a question, I can just find you the answer. Just one quick answer if you want.
Why he wrote Chamada Atagunta?
Why? Okay, just a minute.
Why he
Why?
wrote?
Uh-huh.
Why he wrote? Why he wrote a novel when
Wrote a novel.
when there was nothing? Why he wrote a novel? That's just one.
Okay, I think this is a very interesting, very, I don't know what the answer is gonna be like, but let's see. Okay. Okay. Fakir Mohan Senapati, a prominent Odia writer. I can provide you some context. No, no, no. It is giving me about a description. Okay, I have. So basically, ChatGPT is trying to ascertain which Mohan actually I'm talking about. So it first tell me, okay, are you talking about Fakir Mohan Senapati? So here is the
Yeah, yeah.
detail. So let me just call it the next question. So one of his most famous novel, Cha Mana Atha Gunta, 6 acres and a
Atagunta.
third.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a satirical work that highlights the plight of oppressed and injustices faced by them due to the oppressive Jamindari system. So maybe I can ask, what was the motivation?
To
What
write Chamada Atagunta.
yeah, in the motivation of Fakir Mohan Senapati to write Chamana Atha Gunta. Okay, let's hear it from ChatGPT. Where it is. Okay. Okay. With multiple motivations in mind. Oh wow! So we have some answers here. So it may I could not share. So can I share on the screen? Maybe I can. Just let me just. Okay. Okay. Where do we? Entire screen. Okay. Yeah. So here is the answer. Is my screen visible?
Yes, now it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
So one of the Senapati's main motivation was to provide a social commentary on the issues prevalent in his time, such as oppressive Jamindari system, exploitation of tenants, and rampant corruption. By portraying the lives of common people and their suffering, he aimed to raise awareness and critique the existing social structure that perpetuated these injustices. Preservation and promotion of Odia language. Fakir Mohan Senapati was an ardent advocate of Odia language. During the British colonial era, the Odia language faced the threat of being replaced by Bengali in administration and education. Senapati wrote Cha Mana Atha Gunta and other works in Odia to not only showcase the richness of the language but also promote its use in literature, education, and administration. Artistic expression. As a talented writer, Senapati was driven by the desire to create an enduring work of art that would leave a lasting impact on Odia literature. Cha Mana Atha Gunta is considered one of the first modern Indian novels and a masterpiece of Odia literature. Through his writing, Senapati was able to express his creativity and contribute to the development of the novel as a literary form in Odia. Inspiration for change. By highlighting the plight of oppressed and injustices faced by them, Senapati aimed to inspire the changes in society. His work encouraged readers to question and challenge the status quo and to seek a more just and equitable society. In summary, Fakir Mohan Senapati's motivation for writing Cha Manatha Gunta included social critique, preservation, promotion of Odia languages, artistic expression, and inspiration for societal change. I can ask, is there anything else?
Yeah, that's fairly good.
That's a fascinating answer. And
Oh wow! So you see, there is many layer to it. The Vyanjana.
yeah.
So the more you ask it, I mean, sorry, okay, yeah. So human nature and usual character. Yeah, yes. And look at the speed. Look at the speed at which it is generating the sentences, the content. So, all right. So this was just.
Yeah.
So, so
Good, good,
students
good.
must be excited. Students must be excited, and teachers worried. Within seconds, assignments can be done, and you have also responded to Kedar sir's question that who will control AI? Those who will control AI will control the world, and you are
Yes.
controlling ChatGPT. You already have the software. You can use it to answer all the questions.
Yes, yes. I think that's why it is very important for every growing economy to have to invest in AI. I think the government of India is very proactive in this space. I see that there is a lot of already there is a lot of initiative that the government has been pushing forward. So we will see more news coming up. But I think in my small way, I think from Sarthi, we have, that's why I started a not-for-profit Section 8 company, Bodh AI Research Foundation, which the idea is to offer research fellowships for AI researchers, basically, who will study the AI interaction with different streams. I think the idea is that I don't want to be dependent on ChatGPT or other Bard or other Blooms. Basically, I want us, the Indians, to have our own like form of ChatGPT, so that like, because it's like Twitter. If a sitting president of a democracy, Donald Trump, can be banned by Twitter, I mean, imagine what you can do with ChatGPT like a tool. So it's already there is a lot of misinformation and propaganda on the social media. If you lose this bet, my God, the dystopia is around.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an honor and pleasure to listen to both of you.
Thank you.
We got to learn a great deal about the relation between AI and Indian languages. Thank you so much, and thank you, KLF, for organizing a discussion on such a pertinent issue. And now over to Srishti.
Thank you so much. I was a part of the audience. Thank you, Vishwanath. Your views, I've heard them in office also, so I almost know everything. And thank you so much, Kedarji. Thank you, Lalit Kumarji. It was a great session. It was a very enriched session with everything about language, culture, and the discussion, the arguments. They were great. So thank you so much, KLF, for organizing this and bringing us a platform so that we could express ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
thank you, Lalit. You did a
Thank you.
wonderful job.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Lalitji. Thank you.
Thank you, Visnath. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.